universal truth and the absolute laws of nature for guiding me, protecting me, and giving me the strength to endure the imperfect. I shall attack with vigor, making progressive moves. A divine mind knows, a divine mind shows. All things work in divine order. All things work in divine order. All things work in divine, order. Peace and power. Salute, salute, salute. You know what? Yeah. Let me let my brains out. Peace and power to the people of the struggle. What it do, what it do, what it do. Yeah. That's more like it, man. Let me loosen up today. I got some shit to get off my chest. Cool Joe, salute. Ken, what up, what up? Salute, salute. Peace and power. Mr. Mac, what up, what up, what up, what up? Tish, what's good? Yes, Karim to Karim, what's good, what's good? Peace and power, what's going on? Yeah, I gotta get loose today. First of all, on this anniversary of the assassination of our greatest leader, one of our greatest organizers, Malcolm X. Like to say we want his energy and his spirit to HUB. And that's my little slang, my little terminology that we use with my particular group, my particular set, my particular squad. HUB means hurry up back. And I know people who, thank you, Corey 1908. I know people who will say sleep in eternal peace, rest in peace. We want that spirit to hurry up back. That's what we want. Because since then, we have lacked leadership. We have lacked organization. We have lacked militancy. Salute Cool Joe 340. Salute to the chat. Let's get them likes up. Salute. Salute. Much appreciated for the super chat. So definitely El Malik, Shabazz, El Haj, Shabazz, hurry up back. As my moderators come in, please put the green screen information up. Again, we are not, and I repeat, not making any corporation that does not favor us wealthy. You understand? Though they're appreciated, we definitely want that to move in a different way. All right? How do I begin? And while I want and wished and put that energy out there for our great Malcolm X, I also would say hurry up back to the spirit of Russell Jones, ODB, a song you need, Big Baby Jesus, Dirt McGirt. And I always wait when these Netflix or Hulu or whatever streaming platform I view any of these series or documentaries or shows. I always kind of wait. I don't watch it, 1 week after the next week. I sort of binge watch a lot. I purposely didn't watch the first season of the WuTangSaga until it was complete. Then I watched it. I was kind of triggered by it because of the lack of historical, chronological truth to it. The second season was a little better, but I just watched the current 3 episodes last night. And I have to say I was more than disturbed. I was bewildered. I was confused. I believe I understood what they were attempting to do, but that was the worst half hour. That had to be the longest half hour of television I ever watched. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I have no other words to use other than the absolute worst from one of our most acclaimed directors. I'm not sure if people peeped that, not only in the credit, but also in the style and how it was shot. We talking about that was Van Peebles who directed that third episode of the WuTangSaga, centered around Dirty. It was such a struggle for me to watch. Such a struggle. And I'm sitting there watching it. And I'm trying to put myself in the space of somebody who never knew Dirty. I'm trying to put myself in the space of someone not from that era, right? Like my daughter, for instance, who will be 18 soon. And I'm like, and she hasn't watched the saga at all. At all. Because, again, they don't market to them. And it hasn't piqued her interest other than she knows that one of the members is her godfather, who she hasn't seen since she was 1. You understand? So that's where we're at with it. You know, maybe you believe she was 2 or 3. Maybe she was 2 or 3. So that's her only interest in the Wu-Tang Clan. That's her only interest in it. But as far as Hulu is concerned, as far as Netflix is concerned, as far as HBO Prime or Disney or any, all of that, as far as that is concerned, she can name various different shows and docus and all that. And as a father, for me to go the extra mile to make sure she listens and hears certain music and know certain individuals, because that is our history. And these people have been so impactful on our lives and on the lives of our children, because whether they know it or not, they are still, to this day, pulling from that pot, pulling from that 90s era, pulling from, now we can see Coil Ray pulling from the 80s era. You understand? So for her not to watch it, not to be engaged in the series at all, you know, of course I feel a ways. And maybe she'll come around and watch it. But I'm disturbed that if last night was the night that she had chose to watch with me, that she wouldn't understand shit at all. She wouldn't have dug it. She wouldn't have known anything about this individual. And it was just ugly. It was ugly TV. And for those who do not know, and do not know my history, who may be new to who I am, I was in friendship with a few members of Wu before I even knew they could rhyme, before I even knew what Wu-Tang was. None of that. So by the time they dropped Protect Your Neck, I was in the mix. But in the mix, now in hindsight, I've learned that you can be in something and not in it. You can see some things and not see it because there are barriers to a lot. And that is what we all need to know, especially us as melanated folks, especially when we're looking at politics, when we're looking at situations, when we're looking at war, when we're looking at each other. There are points that you will not be clear because the understanding will not be understood. You can be in it and not of it. You can be of it and not in it, and you can miss a lot. So as I'm watching the show last night, and it's moving kind of smooth, once it got to making or attempting to make the viewer understand what was going on in Dirty's mind, that shit blew me. Because he would have had to have been the only person that could have told that part of the story. And it just didn't make sense to me. Where you go from them in the studio attempting to get this done to tripping off into his mind, into that weird space. Why? Why did you take a half an episode to do that when no one had an understanding of who he was? Maybe his mama. Hey, Miss Cherry. Maybe his mama. But other than that, there was a lot of issues. And I seen someone in the chat said he admitted to smoke crack. Yeah, he did. And I'm sure he did. That doesn't make him a crackhead. There are many people who smoke crack, who battled with an addiction, who weren't straight out custies, who weren't straight out crackheads, who did not live in that space for that to define who they are or who they were. There's a difference between a continuous custody, somebody who lives in that mind state, in that behavior. You got people who've been clean 20 years and still got custody tendencies. Okay? So that's the meaning for the title of this video. He was not a crackhead. And I can only say that based on my observation of what I saw. Okay? Now, how did I meet him? I met ODB in Parkhill. The very first time I heard WuTangClan on the radio was a Stretch and Barbito, Stretch Armstrong Barbito show. As always, I'm up, making my tapes, recording whatever comes on, listening, because there was a time in hip hop that you only got to listen late night hours. That was it. Wasn't no all day stations. It just wasn't. Salute, brethren. I see you out there in the yard. Yes, Jamaica's in the building. Enough respect. To the yard massive. Salute, salute, Craig. Barely. Salute. So, I'm up listening to the radio and I hear the song and the way it came on and the number of MCs on the track, I was like, yo, what is this? What is it? Never heard nothing like it. Um, I Either I ran out of tape or wasn't ready. But they played it and they played it again. And I said, damn, this shit is fire. So happens God comes to my crib. Well, it wasn't the next day. That day, it probably came on about maybe midnight or after midnight. So that day, he comes to the crib just on a regular because we had met in college, and then I went upstate. And then subsequently, he came upstate and we reconnected. And during that state bid, the little skid bid, I took care of him when things weren't going right in Parkhill. And he would call the avenue, which you could do back then. Yeah, you could call from a state facility right to the streets. And things weren't going right. Money was messing up. Meth was having all type of issues. It gets stressful on that first bid. And I took care of him. Like, it's nothing you can do from up here. So your best bet is to ease your mind, get through this space here, and when you get back to the street, you can address it. So mind you, it was a skid bid, so it was probably me and him was probably together for about 8 months out of that. Then he ended up going to work release, and I ended up going to work release. When I come down, if anybody's familiar with Queensboro work release, you cannot get out of the building without street clothes. He went to my house. That's how tight we were. He went to my house to get street clothes for me. At that same time, let me get it right. Jesse from the Force MDs was in there. They used to treat him bad too. They used to make him sing for cigarettes and all type of weird shit. And we used to be like, yo, don't do that. Either you're gonna give him a cigarette or you're not. They used to make him smoke. Make him sing for cigarettes in Queensboro. Well, long story short, we was tight. So he comes to the crib and I said, yo, I was listening to Stretch Armstrong and him and yo, this song came on with like 10 dudes spitting like, yo, some dude talking about he was Spider-Man and all that. And yo, this song is crazy. And he just looked at me and was like, yo, that's us. I was like, who? I was like, what? He said, yo, that's us. That's me. I said, come on, man, stop playing, man. I said, did you hear the song? He was like, yo, that's us. He said, yo, they was talking, WuTangClan and all that. I said, I believe so. I said, I don't know. I said, yo, shit was just fire. He said, yo, I'm telling you, that's us. Come through, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to introduce you to everybody. Get out of here, Yui. We get in the whip. Yeah, because Hugo was always driving. And always was getting money in the street. So I'm glad they kept that part of his introduction in the saga official, because he was always driving, always had money. All right? So we go out there, go to Parkhill. I'd already knew meth because one of the trips that he took to my house to bring me the clothes, when I got out of Queensboro, he had bought meth to meet me, right, to pin work me. So I'd already knew meth. Got out there, went to the crib. They had a crib. Meth, Ugard, Carlton Fisk all lived in the same house. Yui's house, rather. And from there, we went to Parkhill. We get to Parkhill. The first one I meet outside of UGAR and Meth was Inspector Deck. Now he said, yo, that's the kid right there that is Spider-Man. That's the one right there. I said, who, him? He said, yeah. Now, if you could recall, in one of Meth's recent interviews, he said that those verses, they was kicking in the hood for 5 years. Now, I'm new. I don't know any of this, but they gave their little call. That turned around, and they had a habit, and I believe I said this before, they had a habit of spitting each other's verse in slow motion because they thought it was real funny. So when he kicked the verse, I said, oh shit. I said, you serious? He said, yeah. This is us. That was us on the radio. So now I'm like, yo, son, I never heard no shit like that in my life. I said, yo, that shit is fire. He's like, yeah, I know. You know, now, listen to what I'm saying. Well, I just heard it on Stretch and Barbito's show, so I'm letting you know how early this is. When Deck is moving, I'm with Huey and Meth. ODB is right there. He walks up, peace, God, peace, peace, Lord. I meet him, right? He walks off. He serves somebody right there in the street. Walked up to the canal. I peeped the whole shit. He served. So now, coming from the east, I'm thrown. Like, damn, this dude served somebody. And it was a Euro. Like, damn, these dudes are still hand-in-handing. Remember, it's my first time out there. I said, damn, they handed. And this is late. This is 92. Ain't nobody serving nobody in the street in Brooklyn in 92. At all. Matter of fact, it's rare that you even see. Dudes wasn't doing that. Yeah, it was loose cells, but it wasn't even caps. Straight up. They was on some South shit out there. So I said, damn. These dudes got the hottest song that I ever heard in my life. And he's pitching. So again, it's early. I don't know at that point the real dynamics of the industry. None of us do at that point, now that we all looking back in hindsight. Didn't know the business aspect of it. So I see him, he serves, he break out. I meet Ray that day and Jizza. Right? Meet both of them. So now, I'm getting the gist of it. They telling me what's going on, how they spit this, that, and the third. Cool. I go home. He brings me back home. I'm like, yo, son, y'all about to blow. He's like, nah. It is what it is. We're going to see what's going on with this, this music shit. I got to get money. Me, knowing hip-hop from the rip, I'm excited. Like, yo, these dudes is about to take... They don't understand what they have. They just didn't. No one did. Just to get on the radio at that time, just to have other people hear you, you don't know and understand it. You are of it. You know your vibration. You probably know how ill you are. But again, as far as global impact and how the machine moves, you didn't know. So most people didn't believe it. And I know for a fact they didn't at that point. So now, long story short, they moving. Song is doing what it's doing. A couple of weeks later, I'll go back out there. A song had got into it. If anybody knows the history of Parkhill, or Staten Island. They got a lot of ethnic beefs. A lot of beefs pop off. You got racial beefs, you got ethnic beefs, Guyanese beef. They had a mean thing going back and forth. Of course, I'm always holding. Always. Always. Care where I'm at. That's my thing. Half hammer will travel. 2, but definitely 1. Some beef transpired where a young dude had got into it with Dirty. He did something out of pocket. Dirty put hands on him, scraped him up. Come to find out, the young dude was 14 or 15. It was weird for me. But whoever his family member was walking up and down. He was young as well. I know at least younger than me, walking up and down, right, through Parkhill, claiming looking for him. Looking for him, yo, he put hands on my little cousin, going hard, talking real reckless, real greasy. Of course, as I've been raised, I pull back, sit in the shadows and see, if dude really about this action. And he lifts his shirt up, has a tech on him. My first thought is to hold down my peoples because I'm out here with them. I'm out here with them, so ain't nothing gonna happen to them while I'm here. But again, I don't know the rest of them like that. I only met them a couple of times here and there, so the youngin' is talking to Yui. Yo, where he at? And if I see him, raise his joint. 1, as an East New York dude, I'm like, I need that. That's a nice hammer. 2, talking real greasy and you're threatening. And 3, I'm on some bullshit anyway. Don't nobody know me. I could leave shorty. Well, again, I'm just a guess. So as I give the eye to Yui, I'm like, yo, what's good? He talking reckless. And he waves it off like, chill. I'm like, chill nothing. You got me out here. Long story short, I relaxed. And he said, it ain't about nothing. This is just something we go through with everybody out here. We starting to get a little bit of notoriety. So, shit is out of order. At that point, again, I'm still telling them, yo, y'all don't need to be in the street. Y'all about to blow. Y'all about to take over this shit. Now we talking protect your neck, METHOD, Method Man. We on Can It Be So Simple time now. So now the industry's on notice. Now it's like, nah, this shit is for real. So I'm seeing Dirty more in passing. They doing little shows or whatever here and there. But I'm running with several different other cliques. You understand? Gangstar, AZ's in the media clique, and I'm still in the street doing what I do. So I'm seeing Dirty in passing a lot. I may see him one day. Peace, God. Peace, God. How you, Lord? Come walk with me. And I could literally see him the next day or maybe 15 hours later. Peace, God. Fuck is you, God? I'm like, damn, this nigga trying to play me? And no, you look in his eyes and dead serious. So I began to understand, okay, something not right with him. But never did I suspect or expect that he was a crackhead. I wouldn't put that on him because he didn't exhibit that. You dig? Never exhibited that. I just thought he was a little off. Or it could be on some bullshit. Then after he say he don't know you, well then I could see him 2 days later and he will call me out before I even see him. Yo, peace, God, peace. I'm saying that to say, there you go, Richardson. When we're looking at individuals and we're growing up and we're speaking anywhere from 80s, 90s, 92-ish, mental health was not something that people rarely ever discussed. He could have been bipolar. He could have been manic depressive. He could have been psychotic. And his substance abuse, right? Whether he sniffed coke, whether he smoked dust blunts, right? Whether he smoked crack. You understand? Could have had different layers of the effects of mental illness as well. All right? I've witnessed, as we said so many times, I've witnessed people who we believe to be one way because we operated in the street, because we operated in an environment where you had to be ultra aggressive, you had to know the language, and you had to behave in a certain way. That does not mean that that is the actual individual. So there are people who we could have been praising who was straight up, man, it could have been autistic for all we know. But we're looking at an image, we're looking at a dress, we're looking at language, we're looking at postures and behaviors and not understanding what's going on with them mentally. And then if they are in their peer group, their peer settings, and they are drinking, they're smoking, they may be sniffing, or they may been smoking wools, like a lot of these MCs was doing back then, putting crack in. Doesn't mean that they are straight crackheads. That didn't mean that they were straight custies. You understand? There's a difference than somebody who is sitting out in the street day in, day out, looking for something to sell or steal just for crack, and someone who is in the industry, in a social setting where getting high was a norm, and they believed that in that practice that they were doing what everything and everybody else was doing. Now, it's me witnessing his behavior at certain spaces, right? And his treatment of me. In hindsight, I'm saying, nah, this dude had a lot of mental issues that weren't addressed. And the only time that he had any type of assessment was after prison, after all of the things that he went through in the street, in the ghettos, in the industry, in jail. Now they make an assessment of who he is to let him out. And at that point, what was the assessment? What was the assessment? Do we know if he was bipolar? We don't know that. Do we know if he was manic depressive? We don't know that. Do we know if he was psychotic? If in fact that he had a multiple personality disorder. We don't know any of that. We're relying on what comes through the press. We're relying on what type of incidents and events that we believe we know about. That's it. That's it. We don't know anything. So how can we have a director, an executive producer, a writer put together half-hour long scene or scenes as if they are inside his head? Again, I say every time when I come here, I'm giving you 1/3 of my mentality, spirituality, only 1/3. You will not know me. You just won't. You don't know what's up here, how determined I am, how much love I have for my people. You just won't know. No matter how much I say and articulate it, you don't know to what degree unless you test my resolve and end up on the wrong side of it. So when people make an attempt to try to give us a look into the mind of this individual, any individual who are not here with us any longer, it's a disservice. It's like, it's a disrespect. What are you doing? That was the ugliest 30 some odd minutes of TV in history. It just was ugly. It was over the top. It had elements of his Mr. Elder Van Peebles style. Try to throw in a little bit of sweet back, badass song in it. It just didn't go. It didn't mix right. You understand? And when I look at it, I can't help but feel a ways. Because after the success of 36 Chambers, and by the time they had dropped Brooklyn Zoo, I was already gone. I already was getting sentenced to 33 years. So by the time Purple Tape drop and all that, I'm in the Hooskow. I, again, missed a decade, and several people had got on, apexed, and fallen off by the time I touched. When I touched back down and reconnected, and again was going to the first shows, because by then, the entire clan was a mess. It was not how it was in the beginning. And I'm at Dirty's funeral. The one I was very surprised that it was right in East New York. It was at CCC, Christian Cultural Center, right? And when I tell you, I've seen you God in the street. I've seen him behind the walls under pressure. I've seen him in different mental capacities. But when he cried, and I held him, and he cried, and he was out there in front of the church with me, I knew that that was it. That death took the soul up out of the clan. It just did. They was never, ever going to be the same. I seen Ray, who was visibly upset. Papa Wu was right there. The only one who remained in a certain space is Ghost. And Ghost is always sort of stoic, reflective. You really never know what's going on in his mind. The only time I seen him move different is when I had a birthday party that I threw for, well, they threw for meth and they wanted me to bring some dancers through. And this was at Meth's very first purchase. Not his car, his very first car that he purchased was a Mazda Millennium. That's when the Millenniums just came out. And then he was the first one to have a Millennium, if I'm not mistaken. But he had a house up off of Tajay, and we threw a party, and Ghost was, he was in his element. I don't know about what they showing now, but put him around some strippers and dancers and shit. Yeah, he having a good old time. But at that funeral, you can see, you can feel it. That, yo, oh my goodness, the energy. I mean, it was a loss. A loss. And we all lost. Because that energy, that intelligence, we didn't protect it. They didn't protect it. There's certain beliefs that people have when you are grown man or growing. I want y'all to understand, these are not men at that point. We still kids coming about our 20s. We're young. I don't care if you pass and transition at 80. We are babies. When we are of a certain intelligence, we are still making an attempt to learn. Every day we doing knowledge. Knowledge of self, knowledge of our environment, knowledge of the universe. Now, we are babies in this. Children. We're children of a universal truth. So we are kids, man. So to lose that energy that young, and for us not to protect that, that's what that industry does. Because whatever was going on, you're supposed to protect your clan. And y'all talk a lot. I see a lot of people talk a lot of shit about how Dame do this and Dame do that and Dame that. He's a devil bastard. Because at no point should you ever come between a family, clan, regardless of how they moving with each other. And the clan on its own should have made sure that, okay, what is going on? You stand your ground on it. That is family. And word is bond, and bond is life. We not letting nobody hurt our family. Okay? But again, when you are outside of the inner bubble, but so much you can say or so much you can do, you can just watch and observe, which again allows me to always know that you don't know everything. All right? And I didn't know. And I don't know everything. Maybe they did. Maybe they believed that they did everything that they could do. But nah. There's a lot of energies. There's a lot of deals. There was a lot of demons and devils working up in there. And you only are able to defeat that when you have people around who are loyal and godly enough to do what needs to be done, to get permanent results. So, you know, I was thrown back by it. I'm not going to even front. I watched it and I was really thrown by it. That was, again, that's the worst half hour I ever seen on television in my life. And I done seen some corny shit. I done seen some corny shit on Empire. I done seen some corny, I seen corny shit. But that was terrible. Terrible. But to his children, to other family members, you know, and even to the Klan, man. Stop allowing people to say he was a crackhead. Stop that shit. Stop it. It's disrespectful. Because that ain't who he was. That ain't who I saw. That ain't who I was able to know. Because the real crackheads, y'all still letting them get money. The real crackheads, y'all still letting them hump on little boys. The real crackheads, y'all still allowing them to deal with these bankers in euros and flourish. So for me, I am always appreciative of the friendships, of the relation, of how we move and what they allowed me to be a part of and to be around. To me, ODB ain't no crackhead. Salute.